"Can I share this table?" asked the one-legged girl to the single dad. And in that single hesitant question, an entire story of pain, pride, and unexpected healing quietly began. Before the man could even answer, his little daughter looked up with wide, curious eyes, sensing that the stranger standing on crutches carried a heaviness deeper than her bright red shirt or trembling smile could ever hide. And in that moment, the noisy cafe faded, the world slowed, and three lonely souls stood on the edge of a connection none of them saw coming. Backhand index pointing right if you believe that kindness still exists. If you believe life gives second chances, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps us spread more heart-touching stories. The young woman lowered her gaze as she waited for a reply, shifting her weight carefully, each movement revealing how accustomed she had become to balancing life on a single leg. The man, a single dad who had learned to read emotions quickly, especially since his daughter was born, noticed the exhaustion behind her brave face. He nodded gently, pulling a chair outward with a quiet gesture that said far more than words. She thanked him in a soft voice and sat down, making sure her crutches leaned neatly against the side of the table. The little girl continued to stare, not out of rudeness, but something close to admiration, as if she sensed strength disguised as fragility. The cafe buzzed with ordinary life, talking customers, clattering cups, steaming coffee. But at their table, there was a different kind of silence. A silence shaped by stories none of them had spoken yet. The man, named Aiden, was used to observing strangers from a distance. Raising a child alone had carved a quiet seriousness into him, but something about this young woman made him want to understand the weight she carried. She looked too young to have already known such deep hardship, yet her eyes held the calm of someone who had fought many battles and survived them alone. Her name was Liana. She had lost her leg in an accident 2 years ago, an accident that took more than just a limb. It took her career, her confidence, and the life she had imagined. She had learned to walk again, but she had not learned to live again, not fully. Sitting in public spaces still made her nervous. People stared, people whispered, people pitied. She hated pity, so she always kept her shoulders straight and her head high, even when it hurt. Aiden noticed the way she inhaled as if each breath required courage. He remembered his own nights of inhaling pain this same way after losing his wife, trying to appear strong in front of his daughter. And for the first time in a long time, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: recognition. Two different struggles, but the same familiar ache. The little girl, Ellie, broke the heaviness by offering her cookie with a shy smile. Liana blinked in surprise. Children didn't stare the way adults did. Children didn't judge. Children just felt. Aiden watched quietly as Liana accepted the cookie, her smile warm but shaky, the kind a person gives when they haven't been shown simple kindness in a long while. And somehow, that tiny cookie became a bridge between her past and her present, between her brokenness and the possibility of healing. As they ate, Liana slowly began to open up. Not fully, not dramatically, but in small pieces, like revealing she used to love dancing, or that she was studying again to rebuild her life. She spoke with a softness that made Aiden want to guard her words as though they were fragile glass. He found himself telling her about Ellie, about learning to braid hair from online tutorials, about the loneliness of parenting alone without a roadmap. They were strangers sharing a table, yet their honesty felt strangely safe. But it wasn't just conversation that connected them. It was the unspoken understanding of people who had stumbled through fire and somehow made it out. Liana admired how Aiden protected Ellie with quiet strength. Aiden admired how Liana carried herself with pride despite her pain. And Ellie, pure at heart, simply saw two adults who smiled more when they were together. As the minutes passed, what started as a simple shared table turned into something deeper, a rare moment where two wounded hearts sat close enough for hope to breathe again. But hope is rarely smooth. When Liana tried to stand, her crutch slipped slightly and she winced sharply. Aiden moved instinctively, steadying her arm. She froze, embarrassed. Being helped always reminded her of what she had lost, but for the first time the help didn't feel like weakness. It felt like understanding. They stepped outside together and the sunlight bathed the street in soft warmth. Liana inhaled deeply, as though the fresh air cleansed a part of her she didn't know was still hurting. Ellie tugged at Liana's hand, asking if she would join them again someday. That simple child's request melted something inside Liana, something she had kept frozen for too long. She nodded, trying to hide the emotion gathering in her eyes. Aiden noticed anyway. He smiled softly, a smile that carried gratitude. Gratitude that she trusted him enough to share a moment of her vulnerability. Gratitude that his daughter had found joy in her presence. And gratitude that, for the first time in months, he no longer felt like he was walking through the world alone. Sometimes life doesn't heal in grand gestures. Sometimes healing begins quietly, at a small cafe table, between a single dad, a brave girl on one leg, and a child who knew nothing about brokenness except how to mend it with kindness. Weeks passed and that simple meeting unfolded into something beautifully unexpected. They met again and again, not planned, just naturally, as if life gently pushed them together. Each conversation softened old scars, each smile rebuilt trust. Liana walked taller, Aiden laughed more, Ellie adored her, and slowly something fragile yet powerful grew between them, not romance yet, but hope. Hope that life could still surprise them. Hope that pain didn't have to be the end of their stories. Hope that kindness, once given, has a way of returning with silent miracles. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. It helps us bring more real, emotional stories to life. Before the story ends, Sparkles, please comment below. Kindness changes everything. Your one comment helps this message reach more hearts.